maknanya dia memang tak ada selera makan. Jadi kalau kurang makan, tak semestinya reduce appetite. Mungkin juga katakan tak sempat makan ke, because patient is too busy with the job kan. Tapi kita tahulah patient yang ambil amphetamine ni, amphetamine ni suppress appetite kan. Itulah. Jadi guna istilah yang lebih standard lah. Jangan guna perkataan yang tak standard kan. Kalau reduce for food ni tak ada perkataan macam tu. Kalau reduce appetite tu aja.
Okay.
Cuma maknanya patient ni kalau tengok dia present dengan dia kurang makan. Jadi maknanya kurang makan tu benda yang objektif yang kita nampak. Tapi kalau kita kata reduce appetite, itu dah is one step further lah. Maknanya selain daripada patient kurang makan, itu dia are implying the reason for eating less is because of poor appetite. You faham tak? Jadi maknanya lebih senang nak kata patient makan kurang daripada nak kata dia kurang selera makan. Kurang selera makan ni maknanya dia memerlukan additional. You kena tanya betul yang dia tak makan tu is because of reduce appetite. Contohnya kalau katakan ada orang tak makan sebab mungkin tak ada duit ke, too busy with the work ke, faham tak? Kita tak boleh assume bila dia kurang makan tu dia kurang selera makan. Okay. You faham ke? Kurang.
Faham Dr. Prof.
Contoh lain dalam schizophrenia, kadang-kadang dia tak makan because of catatonic behavior. Part of the catatonia kan. Jadi maknanya bila kurang makan tu dia ada banyak sebab. Bila kita kata reduce appetite, that is one of the reason for less food intake. Maknanya reduce food intake ni ada banyak causes. Salah satu sebab dia adalah reduce appetite. Sama juga kalau patient tak tidur. Cuma bayang, kalau katakan patient complain of insomnia, what are the reason for insomnia? Possible reason for insomnia?
Depression.
Okay, kalau depression, okay. Kenapa kalau dalam depressed patient dia susah nak tidur? Depression tu dia punya causes kan? Tak tidur tu benda yang kita observe. Apa dia punya immediate cause of insomnia? Kan mungkin anxiety kan. So kalau patient ada anxiety, what do you expect to be the pattern of insomnia? Maknanya insomnia macam mana?
Dia unable to initiate sleep.
Okay, jadi maknanya yang paling typical begitulah. Paling typical sekali kalau anxiety, kita panggil initial insomnia kan. Maknanya susah nak tidur, susah nak mula tidur. Sebab apa? This is understandable lah. Maknanya kalau orang ada anxiety ni, dia banyak fikir kan. What will happen tomorrow, what if, so many what if kan. And then there is no answer. Jadi kebanyakan anxiety dia ada initial insomnia. Walaupun yang lain pun boleh. Tapi itu yang paling typical sekali kan. Kalau depression, macam mana insomnia dia?
Waking up in the middle of the night.
Early morning awakening, terminal insomnia itu yang paling karakteristik. Tapi sebenarnya yang bentuk lain pun boleh kan. Okay, jadi maknanya kena tengok overall lah. Dia tak boleh tengok satu lapis saja. Jadi maknanya patient yang depressed, contohnya, dia akan ada terminal insomnia ataupun early morning awakening. Jadi maknanya dia dah terbangun pagi tu few hours earlier than usual. Mungkin kalau biasa bangun tidur pukul 6, sekarang dia bangun pukul 4. Not only patient is awakened at 4 o'clock, but at the same time, patient also feel very depressed, very low at that time. Jadi maknanya this is macam part of dia punya diurnal mood variation lah. Maknanya feeling very low upon awakening and the mood usually improve slightly towards the end of the day. Jadi patient tadi apa? Patient ni ambil amphetamine kan.
Yes.
So maknanya perbezaan dia punya insomnia tu kalau nak banding dengan patient with mania. So you kena fikir macam tu lah. Dia tak boleh, sebab behavior ni dia memang superficially look the same kan. But upon closer inspection, dia will be different. Sebab apa? Yang behavior tu dia punya causes berbeza kan. Contohnya macam behavior tak tidur malam. Jadi ada banyak penyebab. Different causation has slightly different pattern. Kalau tak tidur malam disebabkan oleh anxiety lain kan. Maknanya dia tak tidur malam tu initial insomnia. Patient banyak fikir kan. Kalau katakan depression, most characteristic is early morning awakening. Upon awakening, patient feel very low, very depressed. Dia tak sama. Jadi kalau katakan mania macam mana biasanya? Mana dia punya insomnia dia? Dia tidur kurang kan?
Yes, mania usually patient does
Manis.
not need tidur yang lama lah. And they're still energetic even though dia just
Ah.
tidur kejap.
Okay, jadi maknanya yang insomnia tu dia punya broad term, tapi yang paling more specific maknanya dia sebenarnya reduce net positif lah. Dengan kata-kata lain, patient is so energetic that reduced amount of sleep is enough to replenish the patient's energy kan. Jadi bila dia tak tidur malam dia buat apa? Biasanya dia rajin akan buat kerja. Dan satu lagi karakteristik dia apa? Apa yang dia buat kerja macam mana? Kalau mania. Apa yang dia buat?
He works with full energy.
Okay, jawapan dia apa yang dia buat tu biasanya half finish. Kan? Orang mania ni dia engage in multiple activities, but usually the activities are half finish lah. Dia tak buat sampai habis. Dia macam ada poor concentration, easily distractible. You faham tak? Dia buat benda tapi tak habis sempurna lah. Maknanya dia mungkin cuci pinggan sikit, masak sikit, tapi tak ada satu pun yang betul-betul complete kan. And then dia biasa buat benda yang macam mana lagi. Jadi maknanya kita tengok overall lah sebenarnya. Bukan tu saja waktu siang dia menampak gembira kan. Gembira. Okay, jadi maknanya kalau nak save, kan lagi pun you pun tahu kan patient ada ambil dadah kan. Jadi maknanya kalau you choose the term reduce need for sleep tu tak sesuai lah. That is if you want to sell the diagnosis of mania. Dalam ni memadai lah. Maknanya dalam kes ni, dia punya poor sleep tu lebih kepada disebabkan oleh dia punya macam agitation kan. Dia bila dia ambil amfetamin tu dia macam aktif lah, overaktif. Jadi tidak, walaupun dia ada overlap dengan mania tapi the term reduce need for sleep tu tak sesuai lah. Unless you want to, bila you cakap macam tu dia macam examiner macam wonder whether you want to say this patient has mania or not. Okay, lagi apa lagi? So sekarang apa simptom utama dalam patient ni? Ada psychotic symptom kan?
Yes.
Okay, psychotic symptom, all this ghost. Okay. Macam mana sekarang ni patient ni dia ada macam symptom of increase in activity, and then this patient also has macam psychotic symptoms lah. So sekarang kita tahu dah lah kan, most likely this case is a case of amphetamine induced psychotic disorder. Cuma sekarang kita nak tahu apa perbezaan psychotic symptoms induced by amphetamine and psychotic symptoms as part of schizophrenia or brief psychotic disorder. Apa beza dia?
For brief psychotic disorder, the diagnosis criteria includes that the disturbance is not better explained by major depressive or bipolar disorder.
Okay, yang itu kan, yang itu sebenarnya susah. Yang you cakap tu betul, tapi dia tak ada mana tau, tak ada mana. Not better accounted ni, dia kena based on kita punya experience. Tu maksud dia. Jadi apa yang you maksudkan sebagai not better accounted?
Brief psychotic disorder is not associated with substance drug.
Bukan macam tu. Dia tak tepat. Not better accounted ni maknanya macam ni. Dalam fikiran kita kena dah tahu dah. Typical cases of schizophrenia macam mana simptom dia? Apa pattern dia, apa dengan duration, apa semua. Jadi maknanya kita dah ada database dalam kita punya fikiran. Yang ni yang biasa skizofrenia, ni yang biasa amphetamine induced. Jadi bila kita tengok patient punya pattern of symptoms ni, dia fit into amphetamine induced or fit into schizophrenia. Itu maksudnya not better accounted tu. Jadi essentially soalan saya itulah dia. Jadi what is the typical presentation of psychosis of typical psychotic punya pattern ataupun semua sekali lah in schizophrenia and amphetamine. Apa beza dia? Jadi nak banyak soalan ni lah, not better accounted. Faham ke? Faham ke? Macam ni lah, macam kita bagi contoh ni tak berapa elok lah kan. Contoh macam you tengok kereta kan. You tengok kereta, you tahu dah jenis apa kan. Jadi maknanya you kenal lah, walaupun kereta ni semua ada 4 tayar, tapi setiap kereta tu different brand tu dia ada different karakteristik kan. Ada dia punya, jadi itu maksud dia. Jadi maknanya memang dalam schizophrenia ada psychotic symptom, dalam amphetamine induced pun ada psychotic symptom. But somehow dia punya karakteristik tu is still different. Jadi kalau katakan kita tengok patient ni, so whether the question is whether the psychotic symptom in this patient fit better into schizophrenia spectrum disorder or fit better into amphetamine in the psychotic disorder. Jadi punya soalan dia, kalau psikosis dalam skizofrenia tu macam mana dan macam mana pula dalam amphetamine, kalau you nak compare tu. Di mana perbezaannya?
Is it that in the substance medication, amphetamine induced psychotic disorder, the symptom presented after patient take the amphetamine?
Lagi beza. Okay, cuba you fokus pada simptom dulu. Yang itu you cakap pasal lepas ambil dadah kan. Fokus pada simptom dulu. Macam mana? Kat mana beza simptom dia?
Both symptoms have delusions and hallucinations. In brief psychotic disorder, there is presence of disorganized speech and grossly disorganized or catatonic behavior.
Jangan. Okay, cuba you fokus dulu pada psychotic symptom tu. Apa beza psychotic symptom in amphetamine dengan psychotic symptom in schizophrenia? Hallucination. Kat mana beza dia?
Sorry Prof, I cannot see the difference.
Okay, mesti ada beza kan? Betul tak? Mana boleh sama kan?
Yes.
Tak boleh sama sebab dia punya causes berbeza kan. Jadi bila causes berbeza, pathophysiology pun berbeza lah. Walaupun mungkin bukannya totally different tapi tak sama lah. You faham kan dia punya konsep dia kan. Apa yang kita tengok tu adalah clinical manifestation, tapi below the clinical manifestation dia ada pathophysiology dia, ada punya causes dia. Jadi maknanya different causes, different pathophysiology obviously will give rise to slightly different pattern of psychosis lah kan. Gitu kan dia punya point dia kan. Sebab tu kita ada different diagnosis. Okey, jadi maknanya kita punya beza dia kalau secara umumnya kita boleh bagikan kepada dua lah. Yang pertama yang penting lah. Yang penting ni dia penting sampai dia become part of the diagnostic criteria kan. Itu yang you cuba mention tadi kan. Jadi maknanya yang part of diagnostic criteria tu antaranya maknanya temporal relationship yang cakap tadi, maknanya dalam keadaan amphetamine, maknanya dia punya simptom tu must appear after the substance lah kan. Dia tak ada sebelum kan. Kalau sebelum tu maknanya mungkin schizophrenia. Okey, itu satu. Yang kedua, once patient stop the substance, the psychotic symptom must disappear within uh, within 1 month kan. Itu
1
dia punya
month.
syarat kan. Itu dia punya syarat wajib lah. Syarat wajib yang orang dah letak. Okey, itu yang kira macam must have symptoms. Lepas tu ada pula karakteristik yang boleh jadi ada, boleh jadi tak ada. Tapi kita panggil lebih typical features lah. Typical features. Tadi diagnostic features. Ni typical features. Maknanya more often than not this is seen in that condition. Okey, contohnya kalau katakan patient ambil amfetamin ni kan dia ada banyak visual kan rather than auditory kan. So maknanya the visual hallucination is more common. Whereas kalau dalam katakan schizophrenia, typically the perceptual disturbance is in the form of auditory kan. Itu yang lebih prominent. Itu. Okey, apa lagi? Yang kedua, kemudian mungkin aggression is more common in patient who abuse amphetamine. Whether this is amphetamine in the psychotic disorder or amphetamine precipitate relapse in patient with schizophrenia. Gitu. Okey, kemudian apa lagi? Jadi adalah satu yang cakap disorganization tadi. So disorganization is more commonly seen in schizophrenia kan rather than in amphetamine. Because amphetamine in the psychotic disorder, they are more similar to paranoid type of schizophrenia in which the hallucination is delusion is prominent kan. But not the negative symptom, disorganization or catatonia. Jadi macam itulah kita tengok lebih kurang. Yang pertama kita tengok pada dia punya simptom, kemudian kita tengok luar daripada simptom tu. Contohnya ada tak family history of schizophrenia. Apa lagi? Dia punya dia punya background of the patient kan, onset of symptoms. Kalau katakan onset of symptoms in 20s tu susah nak kata kan sebab because this is common for schizophrenia as well. If the onset of symptoms the elderly, then we consider more the possibility of organic causes kan, mungkin ada tumor in the brain ke apa benda lah, benda-benda lain lah. Jadi gitulah lebih kurang. Jadi maknanya secara umumnya maknanya kita macam dah ada gambaran apa dia what typical schizophrenia would look like in term of dia punya symptoms, in term of dia punya socio-demographic profile gitu. Jadi once the further patient deviate from your classical or textbook example in your mind, jadi the more you think of dia punya differential diagnosis lah. Itu yang patut not better accounted tu. Maknanya kalau better accounted tu maknanya the features that patient exhibit is fit well into the typical case of that diagnosis. Gitulah maksudnya lebih kurang. Sebab dia buat very broad kan, not better accounted. Tapi yang masuk apa, masuk dia itulah. Okay, so maknanya patient ni setakat ni kalau based on history, nampak macam amphetamine induced psychotic disorder kan.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, differential schizophrenia. Duration dia berapa lama ni?
Duration
Ah,
since a month ago.
okay, patient masuk ward ke?
Yes, it's currently in the ward.
Okay. Okay, you continue lah. I pun tak tahu nak cakap apa lagi lah. Lebih kurang tu lah. Okay, jadi maknanya patient ni kita dah pertama sekali bila kita nak establish diagnosis based on history kan. History. Yes. Lepas tu kita perkuatkan lagi dengan mental status examination kan. Maknanya dia sepatutnya ada macam correlation lah. Maknanya what is information that you gather from history should correlate with observation of the patient. What you see in the patient must correlate with the history. And then you do the investigation kan to further narrow down the possibility. Okay, so you continue lah. Tadi you berhenti sampai setakat mana?
I will continue on the mental state examination.
Okay, continue.
So for the behavior, patient had a good rapport. He was very friendly, and he had a good eye contact. His body language was relaxed, and there was no abnormal movement or posture noted in the patient, such as involuntary movement, tremors. For the speech, patient talk a lot, increase in quantity, and patient talk loudly. Patient talk in a high voice. For the mood and affect, for the mood, patient is feeling happy. When we ask about how are you feeling right now, he is happy, and he is not sad.
Happy tu masuk macam mana dia? Happy sangat ke biasa?
Macam he is macam happy biasa, macam tenang, macam nothing bothering his mind right now, like he said.
Jadi buat apa guna perkataan happy? Euthymic lah.
Euthymic.
Euthymic kan happy?
Ah.
Dah pernah tengok patient mania ke belum?
This is the first patient mania we saw, Prof. I saw.
Tak, patient ni mania ke? Tak, patient ni happy sangat ke? Happy tu ialah orang kita kan kalau guna perkataan happy tu maksud apa? Maksud you rasa dia punya mood tu apa? Elevated ke ataupun normal?
I think it's normal, Prof.
Normal, cakap normal lah.
Okay, sorry, Prof.
Normal dia pun ada range kan. Macam
Yes.
euthyroid lah. Euthyroid dia ada range dia. Once kita kata hyperthyroid maknanya above yang normal punya tu level. Jadi kalau patient cakap happy lah, kita semua happy kan. Betul tak?
Yes.
Tapi happy kita bukannya elated mood. Okay. So maknanya you kena commit lah sebab once you kata patient ni happy ataupun you imply macam ada elated mood. Jadi macam adakah dia konsisten dengan history tadi? Okay, gitulah itu yang you kena fikir. Jadi maknanya choice tu kena deliberate lah. Tak boleh nampak yang incongruent antara history, mental status dengan history tu. Sebab kalau you kata elated tu macam walaupun boleh tapi nampak macam tak apa masuk lah dengan you interview dia dah berapa hari dalam ward?
Almost 3 weeks in the ward.
Kan, tapi tak boleh lah. Kalau dia happy dalam 3 weeks tu maknanya dah bukannya tak boleh lagi lah disebabkan oleh amphetamine. Unless amphetamine, patient still takes amphetamine in the ward. Maknanya dia punya kesan amphetamine tu dah makin kurang kan. You faham tak? So you kena pilih betul-betul perkataan tu. Kalau you rasa euthymic, cakap euthymic. Then tak complicated nak interpret dia punya MSE tu in the context of the history. Okay, continue.
Okay. For the thought disorder, thought content, for the thought disorder, patient had a abnormal in the thought content. As patient said, patient had delusions. When he said that he can see ghosts, he believed that his neighbor santau him because of he works late at night. And then there is no abnormal thought possession, thought flow, and thought form noted in the patient. For perception, patient had hallucination. When he said that he smelled a red carcass in the surau.
Tapi itu yang history tu kan.
History.
Dia dah kan lah. So tak payah mention lah.
Okay.
Jadi macam confuse dia. Maknanya kalau MSE ni benda yang baru-baru lah. Maknanya which occur during the interview ataupun mungkin katakan pagi tadi ke malam tadi boleh lah. Tapi bukanlah yang carcass dah benda lama lah. In the MSE lah.
Okay. Sorry, Prof.
Tak apalah. You faham gitulah kan. Sebab apa? History ni mungkin yang sebulan lepas ke 2 bulan lepas kan. Tapi MSc tak boleh lama sangat. Sebab MSc ni supposed to be macam cross-sectional. History longitudinal. daripada onset of the illness sampai ke masuk ward kan, itu biasa history kan. From onset of symptom until the day of admission. So, tapi MSC ni dia cross sectional, maknanya more or less mungkin paling lebih pun mungkin semalam tu boleh lah kot kalau hallucination ni. Mungkin masa interview tak ada dengar suara kan, tapi malam tadi ada dengar, so boleh lah you include. But not experience that occur before admission. Okay, continue.
For the cognitive function, patient was oriented to the place, time, place, and person. And for the attention and concentration part, we ask patient to minus 100 from 7. For the first number, he can do it. 100 minus 7 equal to 93. But once we want further subtract 93 minus 7, he said he cannot do it. So we changed to 20 minus 1, and he was able to do it. And he was able to do it. 20 minus 1, 19 minus 1. Then we ask patient to say the day in a week, and then to say the day in a backward. So moving forward, patient was able to complete the task, but when we ask the patient to say the day in a backward form, patient had struggle, was a bit slow and had struggled to finish the task.
Dia sekolah sampai peringkat mana ni, patient ni?
SPM.
Okay.
Then we also ask patient to spell dunia, and he was able to do it. To do that. But when we ask patient to spell the dunia backwards, he could not do that.
Sebenarnya dia punya test, dia punya real test dia spell backward kan. Kalau spell forward tu semua orang tahu kan. Dia tahu kan. Dia maknanya essentially patient tak boleh buat lah.
Yes.
You faham kan? Maknanya kalau counting days forward tu, itu tak kira tahu lah. Itu just nak make sure test tu valid. Kalau ada satu patient, dia tak boleh kira pun counting the day forward. Tak boleh. Jadi mana yang backward, tak boleh buat lah. Tak valid lah. Sama juga kan spelling dunia backward kan. Mana if patient can spell the dunia, then only testing spelling backward will be valid. You faham kan?
Faham.
Kalau tak boleh berjalan, macam mana nak suruh berlari kan? Gitu. Kalau tak boleh spell forward, apa tanya spell backward? Jadi gitu lah. Jadi mana patient tak boleh buat lah.
Then for the memory test, for the immediate memory test, we test the digit span. We gave 5 numbers, 3, 5, 8, and 10. He could remember the number, but when it go backwards, patient could only remember 2 digits, which is 0 and 1. The rest of the
10
numbers,
tu lah.
10 tu lah. Yang 3, 5, 8 tu dia tak boleh ingat.
Macam mana you cakap 10? You cakap 1, 0 ke 10?
1-0.
Oh, okay.
And then
Sebenarnya kalau ikut teori dia nombor tu kena macam random sikit lah. Macam 1-0 tu nampak macam berturutan kan. Tak apalah. Contoh. Jadi macam mana benda-benda final point, sometimes bila kita buat 1 dengan 0 tu, dia benda tu in sequence kan. Jadi maknanya easier for patient to remember lah. Mungkin dia punya tu lagi teruk lagi lah sebenarnya. Kalau katakan nombor 7 dengan 3, mungkin tak boleh buat langsung.
And then we give patient 5 words to remember, which was roti, kereta, lori, baju, and buku. And then we ask for the remote memory. We ask the patient his birth date. Patient only got the year right, but the patient only got the year right. The month and the day was wrong. Patient could not.
Dia own birthday kan?
Birth date.
Oh, dia tak ingat Okay.
But patient can remember his house address. And then We asked back the patient about the 5 words we told him earlier. He could easily remember the 4 words which was baju, kereta, buku and lori, but the 5th word which was roti, he needed a little bit help to
Okay.
remember it. And then for the information and for the general knowledge, we asked the patient about the current Prime Minister. Patient answer was Muhyiddin Yassin. And then we asked the patient, can you tell us the 5 states in Malaysia? Patient could get only 4 correct answer, which was Perak, Terengganu, Kelantan and Kedah. The 5th answer patient said was Ipoh.
SPM dia berapa ni? Patient ni? Pass ke?
Sorry, I didn't ask the result of his SPM.
Dia dah memang nampak macam dia jalan knowledge dia macam poor sikit kan?
But patient told me that he struggled academically and he failed a lot of subject.
Okay.
But the exact SPM result I didn't ask him, Prof.
Okay. Never mind.
And then for the abstract thinking, we asked him to two Malay proverbs, which was bagai air dicincang takkan putus, and he can give the meaning of the proverb. And then we also gave example of find the similarities between orange and banana, and he can answer the question. His answer was both edible. And then we also asked what is the similarities between cat and dog. Patient answer was both of them are animals. And then for the judgment, I asked the patient, if you were walking around and then you saw a house burning, what would you do? Patient said he would try to extinguish the fire. He tried to help by extinguishing the fire of the house by throwing water in bahaya. For the insight, patient was well aware that he is sick, and patient said that the admission, his admission to the USM was on his own request. He wanted to heal himself and to stop taking pills. For the insight.
Okay. Okay, continue lah. Okay, jadi maknanya okay. Tak ada soalan setakat ni.
Should I continue with the etiological formation?
Okay, kan.
So I could not get any predisposing factor to the patient, but the precipitating factor, patient is a very friendly man. He has a lot of friends.
Tapi takkan tu precipitating factor. Takkan being friendly precipitate to mental illness.
I thought of him being vulnerable to be influenced by his friends.
Tak tahu dia, tu salah fikir tu. Itu macam tu fikir terlebih jauh. Sekarang ni nak kata apa dia punya precipitating factor ni?
Patients, family members are also drug addicts. His brother is
Salah. Itu salah gitu, tak boleh gitu. Kalau dalam ni, apa dia yang most obvious precipitating factor ni? Dia jangan sebut yang tak obvious, sebut yang obvious dulu.
He took the pills because he was tired.
Ambil pil kuda kan? Jadi
Yes.
pil kuda tu. Jadi maknanya Tapi patient ambil pil dah berapa?
Sorry, Prof, we can't hear you.
How long the patient has been using pil Kuda?
Earlier this year, approximately 10 months,
Okay.
10 to 8 months, yes.
Okay, tapi kenapa dia develop psychosis only recently?
Because he took the 10 tablets.
So gitulah you kena faham. Maknanya yang maknanya dia punya penyebab psikosis ni most likely dia typical lah. Dia typical of substance induced. Maknanya patient dah ambil lama kan, bukannya baru ambil sekali. He has been taking substance for past 10 months. Tapi recently there is increase in the amount of substance. Jadi itu yang typical lah. Faham tak? Kalau you nak sabitkan dia punya psikosis ni dengan drugs, jadi kena macam tu lah. Okay. Okay, macam mana kalau kita nak nak katakan bahawa A is due to B. B cause A. Apa dia? Apa dia punya syarat dia? Kita panggil causality. How do you determine whether the causality between A and B?
Sorry, Prof, I don't know.
Teka lah.
Um,
Sebut dah satu ni. Okay, satu apa? Kita panggil apa? Temporal kan? Temporal masa lah. Maksudnya kalau B menyebabkan A atau A menyebabkan B, maknanya which one come first?
A.
Kan? Salah satu test dia kan, if you want to say drugs cause psychosis, kata drug abuse must precede the onset of psychosis. Okay, itu satu. Lagi nombor dua. Nombor dua, dose response kan. Maknanya kalau betul A tu boleh menyebabkan B, the more A will be the more B. When you stop A, finally B will disappear. Faham tak? Entah faham kan? Mudah ni. Kan? Kita katakan amfetamin tu menyebabkan psikosis. Not only amphetamine must a use of amphetamine precede the onset of psychosis, but the more patient abuse amphetamine, the more the psychosis will be kan. Jadi nampak macam ada jugalah dalam patient ni. Hanya dulu mungkin ada dah kan. Dia memang betul-betul start satu bulan ni ke? Ataupun dulu ada sikit-sikit. Very mild punya psychotic symptom. Okay, whatever. Okay, tak apa nanti you tanya je lah. Kadang-kadang mungkin ada sikit-sikit kan. Masa intoxication tu mungkin ada some symptoms kan. Tapi because this is very brief and self-limiting. So it was probably not reported kan. Okay, jadi gitulah. Jadi nampak macam ada lah patient ni. Maknanya towards the end before admission, he abuse 10 tablet per day kan. Which is three times higher than usual. Usual is about 3 tablet per day kan. And he also abuse higher quality of amphetamine compared to before. Jadi nampak macam ada dose lah, effect of dose kan. Okay, lagi apa lagi? Satu lagi boleh reverse kan. Reversibility lah. Jadi maknanya bila dia dah stop drugs, the psychosis should disappear by itself. So far yang ni belum terbukti lagi lah. Ataupun dah nampak ada bukti lah dalam patient ni. Dah kurang dia punya psychotic symptom.
Patient said since he was warded, he have enough sleep 6 hours.
Tak mau sleep, nak tahu psychotic symptom.
We asked the patient, did he see any ghosts since he warded? He said no.
Okay, jadi maknanya kalau reversibility ni maknanya Kalau A menyebabkan B, maknanya without A, B will not exist independently. Itulah maksudnya. Maknanya kita boleh reverse lah dengan psikosis tu. Unlike in schizophrenia kan. Kalau katakan this is a case of schizophrenia, maknanya even though patient stop taking amphetamine, but the psychosis persisted beyond 1 month. Maksudnya. Okay, yang lain tu apa yang lain tu tak apa lah. Lain, adalah beberapa lagi tapi lebih kurang gitulah. Jadi kita nak tengok lah yang okay, apa yang sebut ni dah tak ingat dah. Okay. Apa lagi nak bincang ni?
I think that's all from me, Prof.
Tapi biasanya satu lagi lah, kalau katakan amphetamine induced psychotic disorder ni biasanya kita tak simpan patient lama sangat sampai 3 minggu. Biasanya lepas after 1 week pun patient dah dramatically improve. Ini macam lama sikit lah.
Tomorrow will be genap 1 month he stay admitted to USM.
Jadi maknanya ada kemungkinan lain juga patient ni sebenarnya. Maknanya not totally sebab usually patient with amphetamine induced, their symptoms is very severe symptom, yet it is very short lived. Jadi maknanya dia macam very aggressive for 1 or 2 days. So after 3-4 days, the symptoms almost disappear. Yang tu in that way nampak patient ni tak apa-apa, tak ikut yang tu lah. Maknanya kalau katakan I think most patient with amphetamine substance induced, mungkin paling lama dia dalam ward 2 minggu je, tak perlu lama sangat. Kalau lama sangat ni maknanya kita kena tengok juga kemungkinan diagnosis lain lah. Mungkin katakan sebenarnya dia ada mungkin ada family history of schizophrenia and the role of amphetamine is precipitate a psychotic episode and later on patient would qualify for schizophrenia. Tu tak tahulah macam mana. Faham ke?
Faham, Prof.
Biasanya kalau substance induced ni memang tak lama. Dia sekejap je lah. Tapi ni lama, saya pun tak pastilah kenapa dia kena duduk dalam ward selama seminggu. Adakah disebabkan faktor-faktor lain, mungkin tak boleh discharge sebab ada COVID, ada COVID outbreak ke apa, tak pastilah. Okay. Tapi walau macam mana pun memang I think dengan lately ni terlalu banyaklah cases yang because of amphetamine ni. Maknanya patient ni sebenarnya patut kena hantar kat penjara, saya rasa lebih sesuai lagi. Sebab dah terlampau ramai lah. Dia yang ambil nadah, lepas tu dia masuk ward kita kan. Sebab dia bukannya psikotik yang dia sendiri pilih lah kira. Okay. Okay, macam mana dengan ni urine test, urine toxicology?
Sorry, Prof. I didn't get the result of the urine test.
Okay. So yang tu pun penting lah sebenarnya. Dia maknanya macam dari bersiko ni kan. Maknanya daripada history tu you characterize the illness and then you can come up with a few possible diagnosis. Lepas tu you further narrow down with the mental status examination, which is the objective observation of the patient. And then you come up with differential diagnosis, and then you can further establish the provisional and exclude the differential a bit using the investigation. Jadi kalau dalam patient ni, kalau katakan the urine toxicology was positive for amphetamine, tu bagus lah. Bagus in term of diagnosis lah kan. Okay. Okay, macam mana dengan dia punya rawatan dia punya treatment ni?
Patient was given olanzapine, 10 milligrams of olanzapine, and 2 milligrams of clonazepam, but only if needed.
Oh, dia tak bagi antipsykotik lah. Cuma tu.
Antipsychotic.
Patient ni dah lawat dia bagi ubat apa?
Yeah, Prof. Upon admission, patient was given olanzapine, tablet olanzapine, tablet clonazepam, and haloperidol and midazolam.
Adalah tu kan. So, mana patient was given antipsychotic kan. Antipsychotic and benzodiazepine. Okay, berapa lama kita nak bagi antipsychotic for patient?
Until his symptom is resolved.
Actually dalam ward berapa lama dia dapat antipsychotic?
In the ward, he was given antipsychotic for for 4 days.
4 days kan? Okay, jadi maknanya most likely punya diagnosis tu memang along the line of amphetamine antipsychotic disorder lah. Kalau skizofrenia kita kena bagi lama kan ubat tu kan. Tapi apa yang menyebabkan dia simpan dia lama So maknanya antipsychotic only 4 days. Lepas tu dia continue on benzodiazepine.
And then since then he was continue with tablet olanzapine.
Olanzapine dia antipsychotic juga. So, dah stop ke belum?
Currently patient continue with tablet olanzapine and tablet clonazepam if needed, but the haloperidol and midazolam is stopped.
Okay lah. Whatever lah. Tapi sebenarnya kalau amphetamine induce kita tak perlu bagi lama macam tu. Unless ada simptom lah. Tapi pelik jugalah kalau dah nak dekat sebulan masih ada simptom lagi kan. Kalau dah nak dekat sebulan masih ada simptom, maknanya ada kemungkinan bukan amphetamine induced psychotic disorder lah. Saya faham kan? Saya kata memang kalau ikut DSM-5 kriteria, maknanya simptom tu should not last more than 1 month. Tapi typically, the psychotic symptom is only brief. Mungkin few days, maybe 1 week at most. Jadi tak lama lah. Kalau lama macam tu rapat dekat sebulan, jadi maknanya kena fikir differential tu lah. Mungkin differential dia mungkin schizophrenia ke mood disorder ke. Sebab kita tak tahu kan, sebab kadang-kadang dia punya peranan, the role of amphetamine ada 2 kemungkinan lah. 2 possible role kan. Pertama dia punya the role as causal ataupun inducing lah. Maknanya amphetamine inducing mental disorder. Yang kedua, amphetamine precipitating mental disorder. Maknanya dia dah ada nak jadi dah, cuma precipitate aja. Jadi tak tahulah yang mana satu.
Maybe there are some symptoms that he didn't tell us during our history taking.
Ya, possible lah. Contohnya mungkin dia dah ada symptom even before dulu kan. Umur dia sekarang apa? 20?
24.
24 kan. Mana tahu dia dah ada symptom before start abusing amphetamine kan. So kita tak tahu, mungkin kadang-kadang ada family history. So many things. Gitulah. Jadi apa yang diagnosis kita ni terhad kepada maklumat yang kita ada kan. Sometimes patient tak cerita dengan tepat. Mungkin dia tak tahu ataupun dia tak mau report dengan betul kan. Jadi kita tak tahu. And then jadi kita punya diagnosis ni kita buat based on the history, the mental status and investigation. Lepas tu kita bagi rawatan, kita follow up dia. Jadi maknanya maknanya kita mungkin boleh revise juga dia punya diagnosis ni based on dia punya the cause of the illness kan. Contohnya, up to your mental status up to your investigation, you think this is katakan you think this is amphetamine-induced psychotic disorder. However, when you follow up the patient, still have this psychotic symptoms many months after last consumption of pil kuda kan. Jadi maknanya kalau dah macam tu, obviously this is not amphetamine-induced psychotic disorder anymore, because in substance-induced psychotic disorder, it shouldn't last more than 1 month kan. Jadi maknanya in the light of additional information, maknanya diagnosis itu should be revised into schizophrenia ke, schizophreniform ke, ataupun bipolar disorder lah, depends on the symptoms kan. Because now the duration does not fit with the diagnostic criteria of amphetamine-induced psychotic disorder. Jadi maknanya diagnosis ni dia tidak statik lah. Diagnosis ni label yang kita letak kat atas pesakit. Dan jadi masalahnya kita punya maklumat ni it's not all available to us when we try to make the diagnosis. Sometimes information is not available because patient did not report, and sometimes the disease or the illness is still in progress kan. It has not, dia belum full blown lagi kan, belum habis lagi dia punya manifestation. Jadi maknanya kadang-kadang sebab tu diagnosis tu tak tepat lah. Tak tepat because of limited information and the disease has not manifested fully. Okay. Jadi gitulah. Jadi kadang-kadang mungkin juga kes macam ni in future katakan dia present with more prominent mood symptoms. Jadi on the retrospective, the attending doctor think this is more likely to be bipolar disorder. And then the reason for patient having psychotic symptom is because of the amphetamine. Faham tak? Mana amphetamine tu macam introduce contamination in the clinical features. If patient did not abuse amphetamine, for example, probably the symptom is only mood symptoms. But because patient also abuse amphetamine, that amphetamine not only precipitate the mental disorder but also cause the patient to become psychotic. Jadi maknanya katakan second episode nampak mood mania, third episode pun nampak mania. Jadi maknanya kita fikir balik, mungkin sebenarnya bipolar disorder je. Cuma yang why the presentation during the first episode is look like schizophrenia or schizoaffective because of this patient abuse amphetamine. Jadi macam itulah. Jadi maknanya diagnosis ini bukannya perfect and it's not final. So there will always be a chance to revise the diagnosis based on additional information that we have. Faham ke?
Faham, Prof.
Kadang-kadang mungkin tak tahulah. Jadi ada sikit pelik lah patient ni sebab lama sangat di dalam ward. Jadi kita pun tak tahu family history pun dia tak ada kan. Patient diagnosed family history of mental illness kan.
Patient just said that his brother that passed away said he was being chased by someone.
Oh, mungkin macam hallucination lah. Ataupun delusion kan. Dia mati kan? Mati kena langgar ke?
Dia mati katanya jatuh. Tapi
Jatuh kan.
Jatuh mana saya tak tanya.
Jadi itu pun ada kemungkinan sama ada dia punya brother tu also abuse amphetamine and running away from dia punya psychotic symptom tu kan. Ataupun mungkin juga schizophrenia kan. So we don't know lah. Jadi maknanya ada possibility juga dia ada family history of mental illness kan. So maknanya we have some information but the information is not complete. Jadi maknanya kita boleh teka-teka je lah. Maknanya kadang-kadang patient ni bila kita dah follow up banyak kali, then only the diagnosis become more accurate lah. So maknanya kalau diagnosis after first admission ni banyak macam ni lah. Macam kita pun tak berapa sure lagi lah. Maknanya limited information. And the disease has not manifested fully kan. So sesuai lah kita kata provisional diagnosis. Maknanya biasanya kita akan bagi diagnosis based on the most obvious cause lah in this patient. Jadi maknanya kalau kita nak kata dalam kes ni amphetamine-induced psychotic disorder tu appropriate lah. Sebab itu yang nampak very obvious kan. Jadi differential tu macam you cakap tadi lah, differential schizophrenia, mungkin letak bipolar disorder pun boleh. Maknanya kalau kita kata bipolar disorder, kenapa macam tu? Sebab patient ada nampak macam aktif sikit kan. And then probably the psychotic symptom is explained by the use of amphetamine. Because in bipolar disorder, usually the psychotic symptom is not prominent kan. Sikit-sikit aja. Contohnya dia dengar suara panggil dia, suara puji dia, very brief and not prominent. Tapi ni dalam kes ni nampak macam prominent kan. Dia nampak ada hantu dekat muka mak dia.
Nenek kawan dia.
Nenek kawan dia. Jadi nampak macam banyak sikit lah. Tak pernah dengar lagi kalau patient mania dia tak ada complain macam tu. Dia tak ingat pun dia dengar suara apa semua. Bila kita tanya betul-betul baru dia ingat. Jadi maknanya showing that the psychotic symptom in mania are very little lah. Not important for the patient. Maknanya it's very minor symptom if present. Tapi yang that classical and typical features can be changed if patient also abuse amphetamine. Gitu. Jadi dalam kes ni kita tak tahu sama ada dia punya psychotic symptom ni purely because of the amphetamine ataupun amphetamine ni just a precipitating factor that unmask the vulnerability of the patient. Bearing in mind that his brother probably has mental illness. Tapi mungkin juga brother dia abuse amphetamine kan. So kita pun jadi tak tahulah. Okay, jadi maknanya kita pun tak tahu lagi apa dia punya diagnosis yang sebenar. So kena follow up dia, tengok dia punya progress dia macam mana. Then only maknanya kita kena follow up dia lebih lama lah. Then only the diagnosis become more accurate. Okay, ada soalan? Sebelum kita sudahi, Tiffin?
I think there is no question, Prof.
Okay, so kalau tak ada, thank you all. Okay.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you for your time, bro.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay, bye.